Seen his boy's video recently, and he was calling out everything that was demonic. He called out tarot cards. He called out celebrating Halloween, going to NBA YoungBoy's concert. He just started naming all of these things that are demonic. We also had a conversation on live yesterday concerning different illnesses and sicknesses. And in particular, y'all all know that I have a degree. My background is in mental health counseling. And I used to work in that capacity with people who have bipolar and all these other different illnesses that the world calls illnesses. But unbeknownst to a lot of people, when I say that everything comes from a spiritual place, everything comes from a spiritual place. Someone asked me about autism, and I began to explain how a lot of times there are bloodline curses that we are completely unaware of that goes back from 5 to 6 generations that we don't even understand, that it could have been your great grandmama who was offering up her soon-to-be generation children up to the kingdom of darkness. And when you have generational bloodline curses like that, it can go through generational. There was another video that talks about how you can go to the courts of heaven and to basically advocate on behalf of yourself concerning any situation, especially generational curses. The Bible directly tells us that in Ephesians 6:2, that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against powers, against rulers, against darkness, and against darkness of this world, and against spiritual wickedness. Now, that directly tells us that this world, everything in this world is from a spiritual foundation, in particular that we are up against wickedness. Now, when we talk about different illnesses and things of that nature, when I say everything is from a foundation of some type of wickedness, some type of demonic spiritual entity, when we fall ill, when you think of all of these things, it came from some type of seed of wickedness. Prime example, I broke it down where when we seen Jeffrey Dahmer, and in particular one of his videos, one of his movies, they talked about how he would sleep in the bed with a mannequin. And as he would sleep in a bed with a mannequin, that to me symbolized that he was dealing with the spirit of loneliness. In fact, in the movie, at one point, both of his parents had moved out the home and had left him at home for like a whole year. And in the movie, it's depicting him as literally dealing with the spirit of loneliness, the spirit of loneliness. Well, because the way that that trauma and the spirit of loneliness affected him, it made him want to go out and literally trap people into his home, and he would keep them for days. And not only that, after he would keep them for days, he would unalive them and do all this other weird things to them. And if you look in the movie, when he was a child, his father was teaching him how to unalive these animals. All of these things are deep-rooted spiritual things, and it affects people every single day in your natural bodies. Literally, whatever you see resurface out of your natural body, it is something that already happened in the spirit realm. Also in the Jeffrey Dahmer movie, I remember when he literally was watching The Exorcism, and one of the guys who was able to break free, God saved his life, child. He wrote it for Jesus. You hear me? But he has said that he would put on The Exorcism, and that Jeffrey Dahmer told him it puts him in the mood. And that in itself tells you how, when we think about movies, when we think about everything in this world, it is spiritual activity that is operating with every single thing. And it will affect us in the physical realm. A lot of people who get a lot of detrimental illnesses, that's from a seed, could be from something like unforgiveness, not forgiving somebody. And it is a known fact that stress can be held in your body. It's known to the doctors. It's a physical thing. When you begin to subconsciously deal with a lot of stress, it shows up in your body. That's why it blows me that people really think that Christians make up all of this stuff, because literally you can pinpoint everything back to the spirit realm. Something else that's always invokes my interest is that when we talk about the spirit realm and we talk about illnesses, mental health, a lot of it is from a trauma. It is from a seed of sin, a trauma caused sin, literally, that has happened to somebody who was not able to process the forgiveness process, or process it more a godly way and use applications biblically as the Bible tells us to do. Because the world, and we'll say the world, they have to have a term for everything in the natural realm, and a lot of times the spiritual realm is not it's not noticeable to most people. So because of that, doctors and people of professional level have to label it something. Like when we talk about people who deal with a lot of voices, like schizophrenia or something like that, those are literal just demons. Those are counseling demons that is operating in someone. But the world wants to label it as schizophrenia. It's literally, you need deliverance from several demons, legions of demons that is operating and speaking to your mind, because everything is spiritual, especially your body. Your body is a spirit. The Bible tells us we are spiritual beings. So if we are spiritual beings, then there is a defining factor with the spiritual world and the natural world. I believe that that's why there's so many unexplained illnesses and things of that nature, because with those illnesses, there's some type of weird sin that is connected to those illnesses. And a lot of times the doctor can't explain to you, I don't know why that's happening to you, because there's something that happened and operated in the spiritual realm, and it's manifesting physically. There are certain witches and warlocks that will put curses in their bloodline, so it will allow them to move up in ranking in the kingdom of darkness. And that's why you see there are certain families that have the same spirit that constantly operates, and it's going from generation to generation, because there was some type of witch or warlock, somebody in that bloodline came into agreement with this spirit, and now it plagues the whole family. And that's why you as a Christian should constantly pray against every what do you call it, curse that is placed on your specific family, on your bloodline. If you're not praying against bloodline curses, voodoo cantations, these things happen with people unknowingly, because it's through the spirit of wickedness and bloodline operations. Just like it happens with the spirit of wickedness, there are families that are called to God, and there is a specific anointing that God places on certain bloodlines as well, through the kingdom of heaven. And so the spirit realm is always active. It is always active. It's just unseen. And that is why you should take sin serious. You should take all the different elements of the world that is unseen. That's why it is detrimental to your eternity. It's detrimental to your physical man. A lot of people think it's for games, but this stuff is serious. Consistently pray against bloodline curses, coming out of agreement with anything that was done prior to your knowledge. Those are targeted prayers. If you're not praying targeted prayers, you'll find yourself things happening and you like, where did this come from? I don't have much time to finish, but target your prayers and target it to those specific things that God is highlighting to you in your mind or in your spirit. God will highlight these. Target your prayers to those things so we can cancel the plan of the enemy.